Hello everyone from beautiful Budapest in Hungary, and today we'll be discussing the real estate market and how it'll be impacted by the change in government here in Hungary together with Benedek. Benedek, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Nice to see you again, Ladislas.
Yes, so big changes in Hungary, made worldwide news. People are very emotional about it. They're either excited or they're very disappointed. So what's your take on the potential impact that these elections will have on the real estate market here in Budapest?
Well, what we are expecting is, on the short term, we are expecting that the market will continue to stall because everybody is waiting out to see how it goes. But in the midterm, we expect a gradual increase in property prices. The new government is more pro-EU and they are better falling in line. So the EU is already releasing funds that they were previously withheld towards the Orban regime. So the EU is already releasing funds that were previously withheld for the Orban government. So we are expecting institutional money to come in as the new government is better falling in line. And in terms of private investors, there are people on both sides. So some people were previously deliberately investing here because of their conservative views, but I have also talked to people on the other side of the spectrum. What we are really expecting is not major changes, but rather a gradual real value increase over time.
So do you have any people that are saying, oh, Orban is leaving, so now we're gonna sell?
Yes and no. So I know people that are saying Orban is leaving and this is bad, and I'm not that confident anymore that I want to invest here or come here to live part-time. I haven't met anyone who is deliberately sort of panic selling because of the changing government.
Yeah, because if you look at the situation, let's say you're conservative and you invested here because you like Orban. Okay, he lost the elections. The current government, no one really knows what they'll be up to. Their main platform was, we're not that different from Orban, except that we won't be as controversial. We're not corrupt. Essentially, that was the main platform that they went on. So it's not entirely clear what they will be up to, but they certainly didn't run on a left-wing platform. They were still running on a very pro-business platform. So I don't know. We'll see what comes out of it. But essentially, the people who would want to sell because Orban lost power, then the question is, where else are you going to invest? Are you going to send your money back to Germany? You're going to send your money back to Canada? So I think a lot of people were, in the first few days, very disappointed and said, let me sell. But then, after kind of digesting the news, they're thinking, oh, well, let's let's see what happens.
Yeah, everybody is like, let's see what happens now. Exactly.
Okay, but yeah, institutional money is going to come in. The Orban government was controversial in many international circles. Now these EU funds are going to come. Institutional money is going to come. Funds are going to come back. So for sure, it'll have a positive impact on the real estate market. Whether it's the change is positive for the country or not, that's a different debate. We're not here to debate this. But just from a pure real estate market point of view, it should be positive, like you say, in the medium term. What about construction activity?
In the recent years, or almost a decade now, Hungary had historically low newly built apartment numbers, and the new government wants to help the supply side in order to have more new developments, so that it will be possible for people to have a better access to newly built apartments.
Okay, so subsidies and all of that.
Yeah.
Why did Hungary have such a low construction rate?
I think it was because it was a tough thing to get bureaucratic approvals if you didn't have the right connections. It was just a select few big companies that were able to do these developments.
And the cost of financing as well?
Yeah, the financing is always a hard topic in Hungary. Hungarian banks are usually tougher than other nations' banks that I know of.
Yeah, so a lot of these construction will mostly be focused on the outskirts of Budapest and other areas in Hungary. Sure, increased supply in the medium to long term, because projects on average, from purchasing land to getting all the approvals and actually having the keys to the apartment, on average in Hungary, it's 4 years. So which is quite long. In other markets, you can get a building done in 2 years. Here it's 4 years. So we're not going to see any of this happen. We won't see any of that extra increased supply for probably 5 years at least. And then even then, it'll be rather in the outskirts. It won't be in downtown Budapest where there are regulations in terms of zoning and height and all that. So core real estate should not be impacted by potential increase in supply down the line. And for now, it's just talk. saying you want to increase supply and actually increasing supply, especially in the face of a relatively tight labor market, are two very different things. So Benedek, a few years ago, you and I were making videos, we're going around apartments and, showing the return on investment and how attractive it was. And in some cases, we can get net rental yields of 10%. We had these case studies. Now we're not really making these videos anymore.
No, we are not. And I am suggesting the same thing to all the clients that I talk to. Budapest is no longer a yield or cash flow option. It's more of a lifestyle / capital appreciation speculative market. Most of my clients nowadays are purchasing because they want to spend some time here during the year, or they want to just keep their money in a political environment that they think is good for their capital. Yields are being compressed because the rental figures are not able to keep up with the property price increases. So nowadays, a realistic yield is a gross 3-4% for a long-term rental property.
Yeah, so not a yield play anymore. But Budapest, when we first met, Budapest was still very gritty, a little rough around the edges. And now it is genuinely a center of European culture. The infrastructure is best in class. Right here, we're right in front of the Museum of Ethnography. It's brand new. It opened, 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
A stunning structure, new museums everywhere. It really is a center of culture. It's got great infrastructure. Airport-wise as well. The airport in Budapest is great. I never wait more than 5 minutes at security. Flights to everywhere in Europe, all over the world, really easy in and out. They're going to be building a train from the airport to downtown as well. When is that due? They've been talking about this for a while, though.
Well, who knows when it's going to realize, but it's in the foreseeable future, in several years probably.
Essentially, Western European standards, which was not the case before. You have still less than Western levels of real estate prices, but you do have the standards. But what you don't have in the West is safety, like absolute safety. It's very safe here. Nothing will happen to you. And two, you also have lower taxation and more landlord-friendly laws. You can buy real estate, you can sell it after 5 years, not pay any capital gains. In Spain, you'll get slapped with 30%. Taxes on rental income are just 15%, and a lot of deductions are allowed. Transaction fees between buying and selling are also much lower than in most Western countries. So it's just a friendly environment to put your capital. And now it comes with Western standards. And as the West continues to just kind of go down the path it's going down, so effectively you get Western standards, but with more landlord-friendly taxation and laws, and an environment that in many ways is now better than the West.
Yeah, exactly how you are saying. Like, I have a number of clients who are purchasing apartments here to use as a base in Central Europe and travel around from here. So they just park down here and fly to Rome in 2 hours, or go by car to a number of neighboring countries, or even river cruises are accessible via the Danube. It can also be regarded as a travel hub, sort of. So I have several people doing that here.
Look, and it makes sense. It's at the heart of Europe. It is also the holding costs of real estate are really low here. Property taxes are super low compared to, Western cities. Again, the airport is a lot more affordable and faster. And like you say, the roads are really good around. I drove here from Montenegro. Last time I did this trip was about 5 years ago. Back then it was 13 hours. It took me 10 hours and 15 minutes this time around of driving. Why? Because there are now all of these new highways in Bosnia built with European Union money. Sometimes I get the benefit from these things. And they're building more highways. So eventually the drive between Sarajevo and Budapest will be entire, just brand new highways. And it's just, you're just seeing that all over. Also with the train, there's a new train between Budapest and Belgrade. It's the Chinese that did that one.
Yep.
Logistically, as a base, it makes sense for capital preservation. It makes sense. Long-term capital appreciation as well. It's just you're not going to be getting any high rental yields of any sort. So Benedek, a lot of people want to buy a place, use it as a base, and then when they're not around, put it on Airbnb. Is this possible in Budapest? Because there have been so many regulations.
There are always new kind of regulations in regards to short-term rental. Right now, it's still not possible because we are still in the moratorium window, but the moratorium expires by the end of this year. So from the next year, 2027 on, it should be possible to get new licenses for short-term rentals again. But it's important to note that the short-term rental regulations are in the hands of each district individually. So each district is introducing new rules, new regulations that are making harder and harder to get new licenses. So it's very important to not just rush ahead and buy anything that you like. You need to really check if whether it will be viable as a short-term rental. Short-term rental is in the same category as long-term rental. Yields also decreased in the short-term rental. Right now, based on the portfolio that I'm managing, I can say that the best option right now is to get a bigger unit with multiple bedrooms for bigger groups that are traveling together. And you don't need to think about, these stag parties around here. That's not the typical kind of guest that will arrive in these apartments.
And not anymore. It's not really that much of a stag party destination.
Yeah, because the city is no longer that cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. So essentially, I could come here, and if I wanted such a place where I spend a bit of time, I rent it out the rest of the time, I would have to buy an apartment with an existing license. Does a license get transferred to a new buyer?
That's a very good point, because most people think it works like this, but here in Budapest, licenses are non-transferable because they are bound to the accommodation provider, so your individual persona as Ladislas. So unless the license and the property as well is held by a company, you are not able to transfer licenses. It's a very rare case that someone bought a property with a company, and then if you buy the company, then you are getting obviously the property and the license as well with it.
I wrote a whole article on the real estate market here in Budapest, the neighborhoods that are interesting, the neighborhoods that are a bit less interesting, and some key learnings. There's a link below. And if you want to invest in real estate here in Budapest, Benedek is the man to talk to. You've helped a lot of my clients find apartments here, do renovations, you can manage everything.
Yep, exactly.
So not just in Budapest, but in the surroundings as well.
Yep.
We did some interesting videos on some real estate along the Danube and some of the outer districts in Budapest that are very Hungarian, very typical, very nice. So you can watch the next video as well on this. So Benedek, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Me too.
Make sure to download my free ebook, 12 Mistakes to Avoid When Investing in International Real Estate, which you can find on my website, link below, and feel free to follow me on Instagram @TheWandering Investor. I look forward to hearing from you.